Okay. So welcome back. We have had a whirlwind of a weekend. Had a great time actually flying up to DC for a very important and special event, my aunt's retirement. And so it's always fun to go back home and then to get back home, the new home here in Evans. So yes, lots going on. Thank you for all your support and tuning in last week. And so we're not going to be here long this week. We really aren't. Mike says don't say that, but we really aren't, because it's usually me that gets long-winded. So we're going to keep it short this week. So a couple of things. We're going to start with a couple of statements, a couple of questions, and then some discussion. So if you're ready, we're ready, and we can go.
Let's go.
Let's go.
Okay. So you want to start with a couple of questions?
No, I wanted to start with these two things that I found.
Oh.
So I was doing some research this week because, as many of you know, we lead a marriage ministry at Okie Grove Baptist Church. So we've been leading the marriage ministry since 2012, and have been really blessed by the support of our pastor and our congregation, and then blessed by all of the married couples that have been participating in that marriage ministry. And so we met with our small group, and we love our small group. So we had the opportunity to meet, and we had a good discussion this week. So in doing some research on what we would talk about, I came across an article, but within that article, it had a couple of things that I thought were thought-provoking. So I want to share, I'll share one, Mike will share one, and then I think that's kind of going to lead the conversation today. So the first lie about marriage, lie number one, is if you're not compatible, you may be married to the wrong person. Have you heard that?
I've heard that. Yeah. I've heard that garbage.
Well, why is it garbage? I mean, do you agree with that?
No, because what is compatible? I think we use a lot of those terms pretty loosely. Compatibility, what is that? Mm-hmm. Right? I mean, now there are some things, and some people will go to the word and talk about being unequally yoked. Got that part. But when we're talking about compatibility, marriage actually is not quite about compatibility, believe it or not. I think it's about covenant. It's about the relationship, the agreement that you made, right? Mm-hmm. Because if it's about, well, I don't want to go too deep into it. I don't want to steal any thunder here, but I'm just saying I think that might be a lie, as the article said.
Yeah. Okay. So it says it's a lie, and what it says is God's truth says that marriage is a covenant relationship, and once you choose to marry, it is no longer up for debate as to whether or not your spouse is the right one. And so when we talk about this, we can look at it a couple of ways. We can look at it from the perspective of people who have been married longer than 5 years, people who have been married longer than 5 years, or 5 to 20, 5 to, let's say 5 to 60 years, mm-hmm. and people who have been married less than 5 years, mm-hmm. And what the expectation is, right? Mm-hmm. And so what the Bible says and God's intent for marriage is that marriage makes them the right one. Mm-hmm. So the lie is that if you're not compatible, you married the wrong person. But the truth is that because marriage is a covenant relationship between you, whoever you married, and God, that the marriage in and of itself makes you compatible. It makes them the right one because it's a commitment before God.
Right. It's a choice that we make. And,
yes.
And if you think about it, it makes sense for this reason. When you first meet somebody and you start dating, and you're like, oh man, they're the one, she's the one, he's the one, we complete each other's sentences, all that. It feels real compatible, but I would say that over the course of time, everybody's marriage is going to kind of get to that point where perhaps you don't feel as compatible as you felt before. Mm-hmm. Perhaps you don't agree in the way you used to agree, and maybe there's going to be some patches in there that just don't come as easily or seem as natural. Right. So do you then say, you know what? I made a mistake. You know what? I'm out, and I'm going to go on and go on my way. No, because the expectation is that we will change. We do change. Mm-hmm. And so That choice, though, and that covenant, that is the thing that actually does not change. And in order to have a marriage that is everything that we want it to be, with the love and the grace and the forgiveness that all that entails, then I think that it is important for us, once we make that choice, it becomes a choice that you don't undo.
Right.
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 Yeah.
And part of what we discussed surrounds the premise that, and hi Jeff Hill, thanks for joining us. But it surrounds the premise that you start out one way and maybe you end up somewhere else, right? So does your compatibility change? But if your compatibility is based on your feeling, then yes. But that's not what it is based on, like what you just said. So that's all. That's all. So anyway, but the scripture to support that one is Mark 10:9. Therefore, what God has joined together, let no one separate, not even the two that are in it.
Right.
All right. So what's line number 2?
Line number 2. Oh yeah. Oh, this is an oldie but goodie. If you're not happy, don't stay in an unhappy situation. You deserve more. Now, and really on the surface of it, I think a lot of people be like, heck yeah, right? You deserve more. You don't have to stay in that. But the word just doesn't support that.
No.
So do you want me to go over this commentary here? It says that for many of us, marriage can tend to bring our selfishness out like nothing else. We want our way. We insist on our rights. We want our spouse to make us happy and right now.
Yeah.
In the midst of demands, we'll never be free to truly love and serve one another. Our focus will tend to be one-sided, our side, and what we want. Yet God's goal for marriage was not to just make us happy. The truest picture of marriage is that it symbolizes the love of Christ for us, and His desire for us is that we be made more into the image of Himself. And by the way, if we're trying to live in a way that symbolizes what Christ is all about, Christ was total sacrifice, right? Total love, total grace, and so His model and His example is one of giving yourself away for somebody else. And so, is that about make me happy? It doesn't sound that way to me.
Doesn't sound that way to me either.
Yeah. So anyway, that's kind of what it is, right?
Yeah. So those are 2 lies about marriage. We'll bring a couple more in the coming weeks, but we thought we'd start with that because the truth is we can stay in the Word, we can stay in positive study, but we live in reality, right? We're humans, and we are. We're humans again, but we are surrounded by we are driven by internal factors and surrounded by external factors that essentially influence our decision making and influence our emotions. You would say?
Yeah, I would say that.
No.
A lot of things influence our emotions, right? But and I know that's not. We're not getting deep into that today. But our emotions are driven in large part by kind of our experiences, past experiences, our expectations about who people will be, how things will be, et cetera, what we believe, and then whether or not situations match up with those beliefs.
Yes.
And so once something happens and we define it, we give it a label a lot of times, even though we don't consciously do it. But that label is what emotion basically is, right? So,
okay.
Yeah. And so, we're influenced by a lot of factors, but our emotion is driven very much by our thoughts and our beliefs.
Yes.
Yes.
And experiences. Yeah. Yes. So with that said, what we want to talk about this week is about what you do with your free time. Is that what we're talking about?
We're talking about fishing this week?
No.
Oh, you said what I do?
What you do, not what you do.
You do.
What you do with your free
more
time.
Generally.
And, okay, so a couple ways to look at that. Is there a such thing as my free time when you're in a marriage?
Hey, Lakeisha.
Hey, Lakeisha. Thanks for joining us. Oh, okay, Jeff, before we get into free time, your question, do some people let emotions rule their
Oh,
decisions?
questions coming
Let's say
early this week.
you,
Oh,
let's say you, Dr. Perry.
yeah. I mean, I think that let me take a several second pause before I answer that question because
Mm-hmm.
yes. Okay, so here's the thing, and I think that some people their emotions begin to drive their decision making,
Mm-hmm.
and but they're not consciously doing it because the part of their okay. So y'all have to excuse me for going psychologist on you. I just can't help it. Can't help it. But the part of your brain, when you're upset, the part
Mm-hmm.
of your brain that's activated is that automatic part,
Mm.
the part that it's the same part actually that's responsible for your breathing and keeping you balanced and your heart
Mm-hmm.
rate and all
Mm-hmm.
that stuff. That part of the brain and the spinal stem
Yeah.
are activated when you're upset, and those parts are like automatic. It's like I've
Mm.
seen this, I recognize it. No work needed here. I know what I'm looking at. Boom, and
Yes.
we just go there. And so in going there, I think, Jeff, that's what you mean, when you say, are some people ruled by emotions? I think some people are not activating the real thinking, logical part of their brain that slows them down. And in fact, that part of your brain kicks in like slower than the automatic part, right? It
Yeah.
just takes a little bit of processing time. And so a lot of people, before the logic kicks in,
Mm-hmm.
they're gone. And
Right.
so,
I mean, and what specifically said is, does emotions rule their decisions?
uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, everything I just said, add decision on the end, yes. And
Hi,
oh, hey,
Izzy.
Izzy. Hey, can she
Beautiful.
say Mike?
So yeah, so and it's interesting because even in a marriage, I think the person that can push your buttons faster, has more access, can do it faster than anyone else, knows exactly which buttons to push, is the person that you're married to. So in terms of that, playing that emotional roller coaster and emotional, what's the word? Emotional roulette. Is that the right way?
I don't know.
No. But
Uh,
anyway, playing that emotional button can be a good and bad thing in marriage. But the
mhm.
truth is, that person that you're married to knows exactly which buttons to push.
Well, yeah, perhaps. I would
Perhaps.
say that we should know our own buttons better than other people do,
Yes.
because ultimately that emotional expression, that reaction, we are actually the ones who are in control of that.
Mm.
So hey, but that's another. We might even handle that one over on the other channel.
We are in
Yeah.
control of that. But it brings up a good point. So
Mhm.
back to looking at and knowing yourself better than anybody else. What makes you happy? What are the things that you enjoy doing? And if you had free time, in your free time, what is it, or what are three things that you enjoy doing that make you happy? So the way that we put this out was, okay, so to you first, can you come up with three things without discussing it with your husband or wife? Come up with three things. And then ask them if they can come up with three things that make you happy or that you enjoy. So this is really interesting because our thoughts initially were, of course, you know what I like, you know what I enjoy. I mean, you've been around me longer than a day.
Yeah.
So of course you know the things that I enjoy.
Easy.
Right. Not so much. Not so much, especially when you start to reflect and think for yourself. And I want to hear Lakeisha and Jeff and anybody else. I want to know, how difficult is it for you to come up with three things on your own that you enjoy doing, that if you had no other obligations and your time was free, what three things do you enjoy?
Now, and this is important.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you want to try this, if you're with your husband, wife, your spouse, your husband, wife to be, or what have you, we
Mm-hmm.
want to actually maybe do this. But in order to keep it fair and see, I mean, your integrity is on the line here. I don't know, God's watching,
Yes. And you don't have
but
to tell us. You don't have to tell
don't tell
us.
us. But what we want you to do is
Yes.
just get a piece of paper, just write those three things down for yourself. Three things, right? Yeah, three
Yeah.
things that I would do, if I just had time to do it, that I enjoy, right? Not working.
And speaking
unless
of
working is what
time,
you enjoy.
Stephen Thompson,
Careful.
I'm glad you took some time to join us because
Steve.
we know you're busy.
Yes,
so
sir.
for the 5 minutes that we have you, we're going to tell you again what we just told everybody else. So tell them again what you want them to do.
I would like you to, your question was to, for people to think about three things that they enjoy doing.
Yes.
Right? If you just had the time to do it, you could do anything. What are three things that might be? For yourself, just jot them down, right? Do not let your husband or wife see them. Both of y'all just jot them down, right? Boom. Step one.
Okay. That's step one.
Yep.
All right. So step two was, after you've done that, step two is to write down three things that your husband or wife enjoys. What would they do if they had free time? Things that really make them happy, that they just enjoy, that if they had free time to do whatever they wanted, how would they spend that time? So come up with those three things. So you have your three, and then you have their three.
Do not discuss these yet, please.
Don't discuss them. And don't put them on here for us, Stephen Thompson.
Don't. See, come on, Steve. The whole world. And you know what?
Yes. But we appreciate you.
People cannot follow instructions. Write it down, man.
I'm with you, bro. Sleeping, eating, and watching football.
That's
Amen.
Yeah, okay. All right, come up with three more, Steve.
Come up with three more.
Where's Janelle? Somebody mute her comments
Reel
or something
him in.
so she can.
So, okay. So once you've done that, so you have yours, you have theirs. So now is to really take the time to compare them, right? So were you right?
Whoa.
Oh, what?
You say compare? Well, okay, yeah, go ahead. You're right. My bad.
Yeah. So now that you come up with those, right, it is time to compare. So were you right about the three things that they enjoy or would do with their time? And were they right about yours?
The likelihood, statistics tell us, and this is a new study, just came out yesterday, small sample size, but on average, you'll probably be about 1.5 items correct.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, tell me how, whatever, do the math yourself.
Yeah, but let us know. Let us know.
Most of you will not get a perfect score on this one.
Most of you. We recognize some
Somebody
can.
Will. Somebody will.
We've been married longer than 20 years, and we still didn't get them all right.
I'm pretty sure I got more. Anyway, so, but what you all can share, we don't want you to necessarily put your items here on the feed, but what you can do is, as you watch this, if you watch on the replay or what have you, put your score in there. His, her.
Oh,
right.
That's good.
I'm just curious because you'll add to our data. Here's her. I want to know your score. 1, 2, or 3, or 0.
So who? Yeah, and it's not a competition.
It's not
but it's always a competition. So, yeah. So now that you have the two, you compared how many and you calculated how many you got right. Here's a question for you: of those things, right? Of the three things that you came up with on your own, the three things that you came up with together, how many of those things are things that you both enjoy doing? Not necessarily together, but both enjoy, or we're on both lists. Okay, we are not sharing.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I got a little ahead of myself.
That's for you. So of the things, yours, theirs, ours, of those things, how much of that is what you do together? So we'll give you a second to do that.
Okay.
Okay. What?
No, well, at first you said not necessarily together. You said do it together. So.
Or how many of do you both enjoy? Or were they on both lists? What'd I say?
That's fine. Well, okay. So what do you mean? Let's just.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean. Was there anything that was on your list, their list, that was shared, that was on both of your lists? How about that?
That's fine.
So not necessarily that you enjoy doing together, but we're on both of your list. So is it something that you, if you have free time, that you would both do? So this really stimulated some really good discussion for us, because then we kind of got into, should you, and that's a question for you. And now this one you can answer. Should you, wait, what's the question?
I don't know. You on a roll. So I think what you're about to ask though is basically well the real question was about sacrifice. Like would I go with you to
Oh,
wherever,
yeah,
right?
no, no.
Because you enjoyed it. Right? It was something on that order, something on that
That
order,
comes
right?
a little bit later.
Oh my bad. Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah. So, so
that's
here's the
funny.
question.
He said, Steve said, when did I like to go fishing? Well, first of all, he says, you're right. You heard it, right? It's always competition. Don't get it twisted. It
Yes,
is.
I actually do like to go, but and that's really where we're going with this, Stephen. So here's the thing. I don't like to fish, but I like to spend time with Mike. And I like to be out on the boat with Mike because then it's just me and him and nobody else. I like it because it's calm, it's peaceful, and I can take pictures. So I found a thing within his thing that works for me and keeps us together doing it.
And that, to me, that was crazy because it never dawned on me back in the day, because you went
I
on the
mean, he
boat for
got
the
me a
first time
video with
along.
my own rods and reels. I mean,
You
he
said a
was going
video.
hard. Yeah, you got me a how to fish video.
I did not get you.
Yes, you did. It's in the house.
Really?
Yes.
I need to see that. I
Got
don't
me a
recall. I
video
don't recall that.
on how to do it.
But it I never expected that you just want to go and hang out on the boat, because that is like the best case scenario, right? I can kind of do whatever, and she's like there, and we're talking, and she's taking great pictures, and I don't know, it's pretty awesome. So for me, the lesson there was there's a way to actually coexist and be in the same place, doing what you enjoy, and there's still some synergy going on, and but you don't have to, just because she's on a boat not fishing doesn't mean that she has to fish per se.
Right.
So that was
a
lesson for me.
But I think a lot of times that is the expectation, and that's kind of where I was going with the question. It's if you don't, hi Jemima, if you don't like to do exactly the thing that I like to do, then we can't do it together. I mean, and so then we don't have that in common, right? Or the question I was going to ask was, is it okay to have your own things that you like and enjoy, even though you're married? That's where I was going with that question that kind of slipped my mind a few minutes ago. Is that okay? Because there's a lot of dialogue on that.
Yep.
Once you're married, is everything shared? And does that mean every waking hour, all of your time, everything that you enjoy, everything about who you are is so interwoven with who you marry that there's no longer a you and him or you and her. It's just
Hey, and Genesis said the two, he made them one. Two became one.
Flesh.
Yeah.
Not
that means our flesh is in the same place all the time.
Not two became one.
Is that what that means?
Likes. Two became one tastes. Two became one activities they enjoy. Doesn't say that.
No, it doesn't say that? Okay. I mean,
yes.
I don't know. Do some people take it that way or no?
I don't know.
I don't know.
Tell us, how did you take it? How do you take it? And in marriage, or once you get married, do you lose your individual identities and the two become one? Like literally? And so whatever you like, I have to like, and whatever I like, you have to like. And if I go, you go. And that's how it is.
I mean,
what say you?
I mean, some days it's like.
What say you? We want to
hear
from you.
It's like that. Remember,
what do you guys say about
my
that?
mama's house back in 98? No, that was 97. Oh, don't worry about it. Yeah, oh yeah, I go, you go. Remember that?
Oh, yeah, no, that was 90. That was 90.
Sometimes the two are one and everybody going, like right now. That's what I'm saying.
Yes.
So
okay. Go ahead.
Jeff says, thanks, Jeff. He says that you must have your own time so you don't feel like you're hindering your mate. I.e., my wife didn't like working on my car. Right. Exactly. Can you imagine? Remember, I used to stay out in the driveway all night long on working on the car. But hey, baby, this is awesome. You need to come out here because we won. Come on out and let's get it in. Let's drop this transmission or change that water pump.
Yeah.
Or whatever. No.
No.
Okay.
No,
might have enjoyed that though.
but a lot of people do. Okay, so Stephen Thompson says, I think you guys hit the nail on the head. Janelle and I enjoy being together, so we have made each other's thing our thing. Oh, interesting. Made each other's thing your thing.
The strong and the strong.
Yeah, that is strong.
How far does that go? I wonder.
Yeah, is that 100%? I mean, is it? Really?
That's a setup. You asked me if it's 100%. I mean,
okay,
is it 100%?
well, no,
I mean,
but is that what we said? I guess that's what we said.
Well, that's what we said. We're talking about the fishing.
That's what we described.
Right,
yes,
because that environment, right? Like I told Wendy, a lot of times, it is about, I'm more about being than doing. And so as I'm being, I mean, there's a lot of space for Wendy there. But the truth is, I mean, real about it. So like there's the morning fishing thing, right? That's the crack of dawn, super early, fog across the lake, quiet, nothing going on. Generally at Wednesday or Thursday because I'm retired, more or less.
Yes.
And nobody fishes on Wednesday or Thursday except like retired folks or people who fish for like a living. And the retired folks ain't even fishing during the week. So that time is quiet and it's just like I'm just there, I'm flowing, and I'm able to just kind of be at peace, and hopefully I can hear God a little bit, clear, and things like that. So that time, I kind of like that to be me time, right? Because why? Because if I bring Wendy along, it adds that other element. Like, hey, baby, time to get up. Oh, what time is it? And then it's like, come on, we gotta go. The sun's coming. I'm not doing all that, and she doesn't want to be there doing that. So, but that same environment, flip it to sunset. Oh man, all night long.
True.
So
true.
Yeah.
True. And so that's the thing, making a few adjustments actually to meet the person. And that's kind of where our discussion went, right? It was about the adjusting piece. So Jemima has a good comment. So Jemima says, you should not lose individuality, but it's hard to maintain. That is so true. Especially early on. There is the dance of getting the first few years, and then for some parenting years, and then you merge on many terms. It has to be intentional to keep some sort of self-wholeness while becoming one. So well said, so well written. And that is so true. And often our identities kind of morph, right? Our identities change with the seasons of our life, whether it is our dating identity initially, then our married identity, as you said, and then our parenting identity, if you choose to have children. And then it just becomes the parenting while married, while working identity. And there's so many different identities that the key thing is that we navigate it as one, right? Whether it is the parenting piece or the working piece or whatever, we are one unit, but we are individuals. And so what that led us to was 1 Corinthians 12 through 27, where the Bible talks about one body but many parts. So you want to talk about that?
Yeah, I do, because I think it is possible to be part of, to be one and still maintain your individuality, because the word talks about it in terms of unity. And we think about this a lot of times in terms of church unity, right? Yeah. How everybody has their own role, being different parts of the same body. The scripture says, just as this is 1 Corinthians 12, beginning at verse 12, just as a body, though one has many parts, but all its many parts form one body. So it is with Christ. For we are all baptized by one Spirit, so as to form one body, whether Jews or Gentiles, slaves or free. And we are all given the one Spirit to drink. Even so, the body is not made up of one part but many. And so then it kind of goes on to say, hey, now if the foot just say, because I'm not a hand, I don't belong to the body. Y'all read it, 1 Corinthians 12, verse 12.
Yeah.
And so that, to me, what that means is that even in marriage, right? I mean, because what is marriage, right? Except this model, you have God, Christ, the church, and then you have, the marriage, right? You have, you have Jesus, Christ, the husband, representing that role of Jesus and showing that type of grace and sacrifice, and the wife as the church, right? For whom Jesus died. In our marriages, we have functions. right? We have a role, each of us, in the marriage. And so that role, right, our place in it, that's our part of that whole body, right?
Yes,
And so
yes.
they aren't exactly the same, and that's okay because they're not meant to be.
Right.
But and that's really the long way around to say what I just said.
Yes. That
Right?
was the long way around
Thank
to
you.
saying what you just said, but it
Okay.
was good.
hmm
Yes. And so, yeah, and the thing is, if it was all the same, right, then some of the flavor and the richness of the relationship would be lost. If we were exactly the same, what would the attraction be? Right?
no, we cannot be the same. Oh no, 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 no.
Right, right.
Yeah,
And so, and
I
then
forgot
how
mine.
would we grow? Right? So recently I was having a conversation and someone was sharing with me, and I won't say their names because they might tune in, but sharing with me that, and I'll keep it gender neutral just so you won't know who I'm talking about. But the one person in the marriage, only liked one type of ice cream. And it was this is the only type of ice cream that I like. It's the only thing I don't want to try anything else. Don't even ask me. Don't buy anything else. I will never change from this type of ice cream. This is it. And I know some people like that, right?
hmm
And so, and there's some things that I know that you like, that it's like, okay, you know what? Don't even try to get you to try something else because who knows if you don't like it. But anyway, so the point was that was it. Well, and it kind of reminded me of me because whenever I really like something, they stop making it. So what happened was the company that made the ice cream that the person liked went out of business. So then you could say, okay, well then you just don't eat ice cream. But no. And so for years, the other person kept saying, well, why don't you try this? Because this is my favorite. Why don't you try this flavor? Or let's try this. And it was like, no, 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 no. So once that company went out of business, the one that said, I only like one ice cream, don't even want to think about anything else, finally, for the first time, tried the favorite of their husband or wife. And you know what happened? They regretted that they had missed out on that ice cream for all those years. It was their new favorite. How could this happen? Why didn't you tell me? So they've been holding out on something that they knew and held on to and weren't willing to try anything else. And so sometimes it requires that you just kind of explore a little bit. Maybe try something different. Maybe go fishing even though you have no interest in it and find how it can work
Right.
for you. I know, right? Maybe go shopping because they have a place where you can sit down if you run out of gas. Even if you rather chew your own arm off, is the way I describe it. Sometimes, oh, look at that. Sometimes there's a little bit of sacrifice, but then there's an extreme. So that's where I want to go next. But I do want to hit Lakeisha's comment because there are a whole lot of emojis in this. So she says, it sounds like Daniel with Thousand Island dressing. He won't try any other dressing. Him, his mama, that exactly.
That is funny.
Exactly.
I mean, but salad dressing, I mean,
Yeah, you don't know what you're missing out on.
everybody,
Daniel
I remember
Letterman.
the first salad dressing I had. It was French. I was probably like
Oh
5
my
years
goodness,
old.
the orange
And I was
French
on
fries. That
some
was all they
French.
let us have.
Right. I was on some French for like, what? I don't even know, a long time. And then one day I tried Thousand Island. I'm like, what? What is out there, world? But I'm not mad at somebody for getting stuck on the same. Anyway, I digress.
Yes, yes. So here's what we came to though. So this is all good. Thank you for your comments. And that was one example. But this is where what we figured out about us when we were talking about what we like to do with our free time. Because it went down two roads. So we're gonna let's go down the bad road and then the good road.
The bad road?
Well, the not great road. So here's the not great road.
Okay.
Here's a question, and then I'll say the not great road. How important is it that the husband or the wife support, encourage, allow, and accept what the other person loves to do with their free time? That's the question. How important is it? So I let you guys tell us how important it is, because that was one of the questions, right? But then, so when I say the not great story road, because we want to end on a high note, is the tendency for us to try to dictate what the other person does with their free time.
Mm.
Does that happen? Is that a thing? Let that sit for a second. So that was two things.
Dictate.
Can you scroll up to that question?
You want me to scroll now?
Yes.
Like,
okay, right there.
Where's the question?
Right here.
Okay.
For the things that are not shared that you came up with, how important is understanding, allowance, and respect in your support of the other person, your husband or wife? How important is it?
So is that like a revised question 1 right there?
Yeah, kind of. Okay. It was a different way of saying question 1. But how important is it? Does it matter?
I can tell you. Hey, one of the best days ever is when I discovered I didn't have to go to Walmart every single time. Well, the year was 2000, 2001, San Antonio, Texas.
Oh my goodness.
Up on the north side of town, off 1604.
Wow.
It was after church, and you said, "Hey, I'm going to Walmart. You going, or would you like to stay here and like watch the game or something?" What options? Game, Walmart. I mean, that day. Typically, I know you like to watch football. But
I do. I love
that
football.
day. Oh man, that's so I don't have to go every single time.
Yeah, but here's what I didn't say when Mike shared that story. It had been so many years since I had, going through changing seasons and being a mom, that I didn't realize that I hadn't gone anywhere by myself.
You said so many years?
Yeah, it was several years. I'm just saying it was so many years. There were several years before I realized that I had not gone anywhere by myself. And so I felt kind of weird actually going by myself. Man. It was like I didn't have to load the car seat, take the car seat out, try to navigate bags, car seat stuff. There was just so much, but I had gotten into a pattern, and it continued for a number of years, a pattern and a habit of it's all or none. Mm-hmm. We're all going, we're all together, pack up everything, all or none. And so then really even in identifying that maybe he didn't want to go, but by really extending that opportunity for him, I was actually even freeing up myself.
Yes, indeed.
So that was the rest of it.
Man,
okay.
Put that baby in that little bouncy thing, man, shoot, just slap that thing every now and then. It just kind of do that.
It was good for everybody.
Take this bottle, baby.
So Lakeisha says it's very important. On a scale of 0 to 10, I agree. And Jeff says, very important. Love is never jealous.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. So that's interesting, good. Jeff. Interesting point, because in that 1 Corinthians, that's in 1 Corinthians,
13,
right?
Yep.
13. It says love is or it does not, but it doesn't say never.
Right, because it doesn't have to say never, because it's like right there.
Hi, Kim Aiken.
Hey, Kim Aiken.
Yes.
Hey, love is patient.
Should not be, does not, will not, should not.
I don't know. Let's just read it, because
let's read it. 1 Corinthians 13, 4 through 7.
Love is patient.
Love is kind.
It does not envy.
It does not boast.
It is not proud.
It does not dishonor others.
It is not self-seeking. Pause that.
Right. It is not easily angered.
No, pause that on self-seeking.
Oh, it is not self-seeking.
It is not self-seeking. Right? So sometimes it's not, well, apparently it is not. That's pretty absolute. It's not about my way. Right? It's not about seeking to do everything that benefits me. Mm-hmm. Everything that works for me, yes. Right? You exist to serve, please take care of me. Mm-mm. Okay, so
be lonely.
A little detour. Okay, we back.
Yeah. It is not easily angered.
Mm-hmm. It keeps no record of wrongs.
Right, And then verse 6 goes on to say, love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth.
It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, and always perseveres.
Yes.
So that means love wins, y'all. That's all I'm saying.
It is a competition.
Always
a competition.
That's
yes. Right. So love always wins. So great comments, great feedback. So and thanks, Lakeisha, for saying on a scale of 0 to 10, it's a 10. So the last question, was it the last question? Let me see.
This is the last question.
Do we have the same interest? No. For the things that blah, blah, blah. No.
Okay, so
I thought there was another question.
No more questions. We are fresh out of questions, folks.
No, we're not. So here's the last question and last discussion point, which was the point that we brought up. How much does your spouse is always an interesting word.
It is an interesting word. We got to come up with a different word for spouse.
I always think spouse. I think house mouse.
What's the origin of spouse?
The
word spouse.
Or
anyway.
louse.
We should know that.
I just don't like spouse.
Not louse.
I don't like spouse.
Me either. It's just kind of
husband or wife.
Which is kind of long, but it's the best we got outside of spouse.
Yes.
Because your boo don't quite.
Yeah,
I guess it could be,
cute,
but I'm grown. I'm grown. I can hear your boo and your bae. I mean, what I look like.
Yeah, nah. It is give and take, Kim. So, but how much does your husband's or wife's interest, support, or approval influence what you enjoy and what makes you happy?
All day. Are we asking them?
Yes. So we gave you all a couple of questions, and we can go back over all those questions again. But thanks, Jeff. Yes. It says, I hear you on the never, but in explaining what it isn't is the best guide. Exactly. And the never is kind of inherent. I was just kind of, pulling that out. You were right on point with that one, Jeff. So we appreciate it. But so again, the question is, how much does your husband or wife's interest, support, or approval influence what you enjoy and what makes you happy? And essentially influence what you do with your free time. Mm-hmm. How much does it?
Well, I think it should. Like as Kim said, it's give and take.
Mm-hmm.
And so there should be some influence, but there should also be some acknowledgement and some recognition. Like, you know what? I recognize that sometimes you just want to go and do whatever. If it's just like walk around down at that shopping center, or if it's go to the spa or whatever, then I'm willing to give that. And yet there are some days where, that's kind of redundant, isn't it?
Yeah.
Anyway, so some days I want, maybe I want to, hey, let's go to breakfast today, because we can. I just had a fantasy, right? It's like we're going to retire and we're going to be down at Cracker Barrel with those folks who be hanging out at Cracker Barrel like early in the morning, stuff like that. So, sometimes I just think it's, it is about that give and take. It is about maintaining that individuality while being a part of the same thing, going the same place, worshiping the same God, loving each other unconditionally.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it's all about.
I think it is what it's all about. And you're right. But I think it's also important to understand that we all are our individual parts of the same body, the body being the church, the body being the marriage.
That's what I just said.
You did.
Okay.
And given that, being yourself and having your own likes, dislikes, desires, pleasures is what came up yesterday.
What?
Having those things
Pleasures.
Is what enriches your relationship. Okay. Celebrating those things versus looking at the differences and that's the other road that creeps in, the resentment. So it looks like, or it seems like, you enjoy doing that thing more than you enjoy spending time with me. That is the other side of this discussion. That's the other side of the narrative. So even if you never talk about it, we can sometimes go to a place of resenting what the other person is doing because we feel like it somehow marginalizes us or is sending a message that they would prefer one thing over you. And what we learned in discussing and what we encourage you to do is to not compare the two. And before anything else, ask, right? Because we operate on a lot of assumptions for many years. And so one of the points that I wanted to bring out that we brought out yesterday and I want to bring out with you all is, hey, you cannot operate off of you should not operate off of old data. When was the last time you checked in to validate what your husband or wife truly enjoys doing and what makes them happy? And so this kind of steps away from the pursuit of happiness and, away from, your joy is found in the Lord. We're not really going that deep on this question, but what we're talking about is just kind of checking in a very real way on what they enjoy doing. Because I would venture to guess that after 20 something years, 30 years, 50 years, 10 years, 5 years, that maybe what they enjoyed then, they may not still enjoy. But if you're operating off of old data, that the application phase of your relationship, that some things have changed. They've changed. And you need to update. And so we had asked the couples that were with us about checking in. Do you need to check in? And I will say unequivocally, yes. You do need to check in for the health, for your own individual health, but for the health of your marriage.
Yep.
Because operating off of assumptions will generally lead you in the wrong direction.
Because what happens when you, forget
You know what? Don't say it. When you assume.
No, you know what happens when you make assumptions.
No, you know what happens when you assume.
Anyway.
Yeah.
So here we go.
You go in the Samuel L. Jackson route.
Yeah. Anyway. Stop. That's not what exercise some restraint. Anyway, yes. So but that we're gonna wrap it up. But it basically, what we want you to take away are really three things.
Yes.
And we're not talking about both sides of our
yes,
mouth here. No, but so.
But we're coming back to three main points.
Three things. Okay. First of all, you gotta update your information, even with somebody, and maybe especially with someone that you've been with for the longest, right? Mm-hmm. So don't go on old history, ask questions.
Yes.
It's okay to ask questions. You know what? What do you what do you want to do? What do you enjoy? What do you really enjoy doing? Just ask that, right? What do you really enjoy, right?
Instead of thinking that you got this thing on lock and you're getting it right every time, and you keep buying them the same thing. The illustration, but the illustration that I gave was from The Color Purple, when she would throw the food out and it would hit the wall. It's like, don't bring me the same thing. Don't keep buying me these flowers that I told you 5 years ago. Now I'm allergic to those flowers. Don't keep buying me those.
Wendy, got it.
Okay.
We're wrapping this is the wrap up piece. Now, all right, now. So, in case y'all forgot,
I had a point.
I know I got it. In case y'all forgot.
Oh, what was your point again?
Don't go on old history. It's okay to ask questions.
It is.
Even with somebody, and especially with somebody that you've been with for a long time. You may even find out something new and cool, right?
Yes.
Second thing is, as Steve said, I love this, find ways to make my thing our thing.
Yes.
Right? That's maybe not everything for you, but there's some things that perhaps one of you has been sitting on the sideline like, you know what, I'm not doing that. I will not do that. Why? You probably don't have a good reason. And so even if you do, figure it out. Find ways to make some of those things that are my thing, our thing. Third thing, and the final.
Wait. On that second thing, don't do it under duress. Don't say, okay, Mike and Wendy said, make my thing, our thing. I'm going to go.
Yeah. Okay.
So show me. I'm here.
Oh goodness. Yeah, don't be out there pouting. That goes for you too, fellas. I said I was gonna go shopping, but I'm just staying here like this until we out of here. I'm ready.
Right.
You ready?
Yeah.
We done yet?
Yeah, I don't need, like, that's what they do. I don't need that. Just don't come with me. I'd rather not have to deal with all that.
So during that discussion, when you ask the first question, as far as hey, what do you really enjoy? Pay attention, and then find some things ways to make my thing our thing. Third point,
Yes,
final
love
point.
that. My thing, our thing.
Find ways to be uniquely you.
Oh,
Because
love that.
I want Wendy to be Wendy, right? That's what I want. I don't need Wendy to be like me.
Right.
I would not like her very
a-
much if she was like me.
Not a mini Mike.
I don't even know what that even look like.
Right.
Gracious.
Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, so you got to find ways to.
Yes. So find ways to be uniquely you.
And so Tanya said,
Tanya is Tony and
Tony,
Kim.
I'm tripping. I'm like, look, it looks just like Tanya.
It does.
Kim, I'm sorry.
It's Tony and Kim. It's
Tony,
Kim.
yeah,
Kim
I got it. Kim said, it's great to hear your spouse say something about your interest or hobby because it makes him feel that you care. I've constantly pushed Tony out to play golf because I know it de-stresses him. He knows I don't care for the sport, but taking some time to show my desire to be with him doing it, placing my daddy before myself. Woo! All right. I love to hear Tony ask me out of the blue what I'm reading or if I've heard of the title of a book. He knows I love to read. It makes me feel so special that he cares.
Yeah.
Look at that. And listen to what she described, right? I mean, was any of that really like hard?
No.
Right?
It doesn't sound hard, but it probably took a while to get there.
Well, maybe so, but I'm just saying. I mean, it is taking what you notice and just using that information. I mean, I just think it's amazing that they have that going on.
So Gloria and Dynasty kind of joined us, and we are so glad that you did. And then the one thing I wanted to say about that, and I'm glad you made that comment, Kim, and it was kind of along what I was talking about earlier, is that we learned that we are both yielding in what we do. And so I would yield to what I thought Mike would want to do or what he enjoys, and he would do the same. And so we found ourselves both yielding. And so we end up actually maybe not doing or enjoying or getting the most out of what we were doing because we were so concerned about doing what the other person wanted. Right. And so it comes back to the first thing that Mike said. Don't go on old history. Ask questions. Asking questions can change everything.
Yep.
Yep. You got anything else?
No.
Anybody else call their husband daddy?
Tony, I hear you, bro.
Just saying.
Yo, boy, you crazy kids.
I
hear you.
That's cool. So that's really all we want to talk about this week, but we do appreciate, as always, we're so blessed by you guys taking a few minutes out of your week just to join us, share some of your experiences. You can catch us here live on Facebook on our Okie Grove Married Couples page every Monday at 7. And it's just for a real talk inside marriage. And again, that's all we have for this week.
Well, I mean, it's still early in the month, so weekend to remember, people.
Oh, yes.
Augusta Edition, Marriott Hotel, October 26th through 28th. www.weekendtoremember.com.
Yes.
Look for the Augusta event. And if you want to get a discount, $100 off, use the group name.
OGBC Evans.
OGBC Evans. All right. Okay.
Oscar Bravo Golf Charlie.
We are done. we got out. We ain't going back. Not going back. All right.
Echo Victor Alpha November Sierra.
Oh goodness. So now we done confuse people. Okay. Anyway. OGBC Evans. All right. Listen. Thank y'all. Blessings to everybody.
Used by you.